KGW Breaking News.
2 weeks after fire tore through the historic Centennial Mills building in Northwest Portland's Pearl District, part of the historic structure is coming down. Thank you for joining us here at noon. I'm Tim Gordon.
And I'm China Green. Crews have been hard at work this morning preparing the water tower at the top of the 116-year-old building for demolition. The water tower is set to be taken down with 4 controlled explosions.
Now, this all follows a fire at the long vacant former mill. That fire gutted the building, leaving intact just the outer walls and that water tank. Before the explosions begin, the city of Portland says it will send out a text alert to neighbors living nearby, and crews will clear a 300-foot area around that entire building.
We do have team coverage on the demolition. Blair Best on the history of the building and its reported problems. Devin Haskins is hearing from people nearby who are gathering to take it all in.
Yeah, but first we're going to hear from Mo Hyder, who's been live at the site since 5 o'clock this morning. Mo, you're a patient man. What have you seen so far today?
Yeah, Tim, in the last couple hours, many people have started gathering here to preview the demolition. Like you mentioned earlier, the city will give people a heads up. They're expected to receive a text alert, so they're encouraging people, if they are in this area, to keep a close eye on their phones. Now, right now, we're seeing a crane lift up a platform. This is footage from earlier, and crews were seen doing some work on the legs of the water tower, being told it'll be taken down with 4 controlled explosions, and sirens will sound just minutes before the blast, and from there, there's going to be a 5-second countdown. Since early this morning, people have been gathering to watch, and here's more on what they had to say.
I love this kind of stuff. It's just exciting. It's different. It's a one-time event probably, so yeah, kind of seeing history in a way.
And the city says as far as what happens next, once that tower part is done, they'll then demolish the walls. And from there on, they also do say it's going to take a couple of weeks from here on out to get the height from this to halfway point. Let's send it back to you.
All right, Mo, thanks very much. And we're also hearing from people gathering in the Pearl District to witness the water tower's demolition.
Our Devin Haskins joins us live outside the perimeter. And Devin, you're seeing quite a few people looking for a show.
Yeah, quite a few people sitting around, standing around, taking all the photos. And one of the big questions that we've been asked is, when will this happen? That seems to be the biggest question everybody wants to know is when. And so far we still have not heard a time from the city yet. They're also wondering, we've had a few people walk by asking, what's going on here? Trying to play catch up on all the big recent news about not knowing this. The anticipation has drawn several people down here to see what it looks like and watch the crews work. We've seen people break out their phones to grab a quick photo and video of the building. There's also people sitting on nearby benches, getting that front row seat ready. And no doubt when the final countdown begins, there will most likely be a crowd out here, or remain a crowd out here. We talked with a couple of people who were very curious about the demolition.
To take a water tower down first, I wasn't quite sure how this whole thing was going to work. And it's interesting, I'm hearing he's drilling. Those guys, I pray for them up there. But yeah, it's supposed to be controlled.
Just curiosity, I guess. And because I've been watching that happen, over the past month. So curiosity, and hopefully it's not going to be too dangerous for the neighborhood.
And now we wait. And while we wait, let's send it back to you guys.
On that, Devin, thanks a lot. We're going to bring in Blair Best now. And Blair, you've been covering this building for a few months now. Tell us about the history.
Yeah, so it's a former flour mill. It's 116 years old, and it dates back to Portland's wheat fleet that transported Oregon grain to ports around the world. Notably, back in 1912, the building caught fire caused by a short circuit in one of the milling machines. Sprinklers at the time could not put out the flames, and the city's fireboat could not shoot water high enough, so it was after that fire that the iconic water tower was installed as a way to help put out any future fires. Now, the mill remained in operation until the late 1990s before the city of Portland bought it in 2000. They used it for the police bureau's horseback unit. The city eventually sold the building 2 years ago to a developer for just over $1 million, and that developer immediately sold it to a man named Stuart Lindquist. That is the same owner of the notorious ICE building on the South Waterfront.
Which has sat abandoned for decades now, which of course brings some problems for the neighborhood.
Yes, very much so. We've covered those extensively. Yes. The problem, city records show, nuisance complaints about the building date back to 2017. That's everything from homeless camps, graffiti, trash, squatters, even previous fires. The head of the Pearl District Neighborhood Association tells me over the last few years, it's become a large homeless camp, basically. And that police and fire, he says, were being called to the building almost every week. A couple of months ago, take a look, Portland police filmed themselves clearing the building of squatters and arrested one person there. Homeless people I've talked with who camped inside said themselves it was extremely dangerous, but it was out of the elements and that they would often go in there to get firewood. But important to remember here, police say there is a high likelihood of human remains inside the building, meaning people likely died in this fire, which is incredibly sad and also frustrating for many neighbors who watched this whole thing unfold over the years and recent months. And they tell me they feel that this whole thing could have been prevented. Officials knew, right? They knew what was happening inside the building. Many people I talked with days after the fire broke out, they say they were not surprised that it caught fire.
Yeah, pretty bad recent history for sure. What about the efforts to repurpose this building, make something of it?
Right, so those efforts have largely failed due in part to the city's permitting process. Most recently, a Vancouver-based developer was looking to lease the part of the property to build a nightclub, and he told me city restrictions and what he called a nightmarish permitting process made him give up on the project and take his business outside of Multnomah County. Because the property is historic, the city tells us repurposing a building like this would require seismic, flood, and all sorts of environmental evaluations.
Blair, thank you for walking us through all of this and where it came from and where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we want to turn things over to meteorologist Rod Hill now, who has more on today's weather conditions and how it could impact demolition crews. Rod?
Yeah, hi, I'm up here on the weather deck. In case you're wondering, we're right by Lincoln High School, so my view is totally blocked. I can see the Ritz-Carlton, I can see nothing beyond that. I will tell you though, I can see that the skies have cleared beautifully and we are expecting a sunny afternoon. We don't study this in meteorology school, but I'm gonna assume this is perfect weather for bringing down a water tower. Let's get you to what's going on outside right now. I mentioned we've really cleared out here in the city. This is a Providence Park camera showing you the same view that I am getting up here on the weather deck. And let me tell our director, Mr. Chris Paz, my iPad is not working. If you can change the buttons, Chris, thank you. 71 degrees up there from Providence Park. Let's go ahead and hit the next button. And this is what the winds are doing right now. This would be really the only weather concern, right? But this is not a concern because look at the speeds, generally less than 10 miles per hour. And I'm up here on the deck, so I'm going to make the assumption I've got a fairly flat plane of wind up here, that the winds are exactly the same over there by that historic structure, and that would be a northwest wind at about 10 miles per hour. Temperatures this afternoon getting up into the low 80s. So from the weather deck, we'll send it back to you. We'll have your complete 7-day forecast coming up. But I've got to assume it's good weather to bring down safely a water tower, guys.
Safely, Rod, thank you. And we will continue to track the demolition of the Centennial Mills building throughout the day on our streaming platform and KGW.com. You can also tune in to KGW News coming up at 4 this afternoon. In
other news, Washington State Patrol issued an endangered missing person advisory after an infant was taken yesterday morning in Vancouver. WSP says Raul Martinez took 7-month-old Marcelo Martinez around 5 or 6 in the morning. They left in a late 90s red Jeep Grand Cherokee, which may have evidence tape on it. The license plate number is not known. Marcelo is wearing a blue onesie, or he was at the time, saying grandmas are the best. If you see them, call 911 right away.
Meantime, police are searching for a suspect after one person was shot in southeast Portland this morning. This happened on Washington Street near 76 around 4. Police say that the suspect fled the scene before officers got there. The suspect was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Our photographer on scene heard police using a loudspeaker and a drone and saw police holding rifles throughout the morning. The scene cleared around 6:30.
Well, the man accused in a deadly shooting in Clark County is appearing in court today. 18-year-old James Gill is facing a second-degree manslaughter charge. Deputies say it happened early Saturday morning when a large group of teens gathered at Hawkinson's Meadow Community Park. Investigators say witnesses told them the gun discharged while it was in Gill's hands. The 18-year-old victim died at the scene. Gill and the victim were both recent students at Battleground High School. A vigil was held Sunday night to remember the 18-year-old who died. Gill is due in court at 1:30 this afternoon.
One person is dead and 2 others are injured after a shooting in southeast Portland near the base of the Tillicum Crossing Bridge.
Yeah, this happened just before 3 o'clock Saturday morning on Southeast Water and Carruthers Streets. Witnesses say a group of young people gathered in the area for an impromptu dance party before the violence broke out. Police found 2 injured people at the scene. A 3rd person was later found dead inside a gas station about 1.5 miles from the original shooting scene near Southeast Main and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
I mean, we were going to come down over there, and then there was police tape. And then when we come up this way, there's more police tape. And then we come even further, there's more police tape.
Police have not said what led up to the shooting, and they've not released any information on any possible suspects. Anyone with information who has not already spoken to police is asked to contact them.